let's end this on a bit of a downer. This is Gabriele Princip. He is the most influential person that you have never heard of, most likely. I asked a bunch of you last week if you've heard of him, and nobody had. I spent a good 2 weeks in school learning about this guy, and I feel like it's important that everyone else knows about him as well. He was born in the Austro-Hungarian Empire in the Bosnia region, right around here, in 1894. When he was 17 years old, he graduated high school and he attended the College of Sarajevo. He was a very bright young man, but after 1 year, he dropped out to pursue a career in politics. In that, his career went from 1913 to 1914, 363 days, not even an entire year, before the Austro-Hungarian Empire arrested him, threw him in jail, and he died in 1918 at the age of 23 years old. But because of him, these countries exist. And it's hard to argue the fact that without him, these countries would exist at all in the way they do today. And because of him, these countries' histories have been completely altered. It's because of him that 20 years after his death, the D-Day landings happened. It was because of him 80 years after his death that the Berlin Wall came down. The technological revolution, the computer revolution happened because of him, as well as the moon landing and the space race and our pursuits to go onto Mars. There's an idea in politics that the greater accomplishments someone has, the worse that their detractors are. So, looking at Gabriele Princip's accomplishments, his detractors must be pretty awful, and that wouldn't even be scratching the surface. Because of Gabriele Princip, these men came to power, and I don't know if you know everyone on this page, but I do know everyone knows that guy, and in terms of people killed, he's third on this list. Because of him, the nuclear revolution happened. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the only times nuclear weapons have ever been used on civilian population, happened because of Gabriele Princip. Chernobyl, the greatest humanitarian disaster of the 20th century, happened because of Gabriele Princip. And the 9/11 attacks in 2001 happened because of Gabriele Princip. That's almost 90 years after his death, and I understand that it might be a little hard for people to grasp how somebody could affect the world 90 years after they died, even if they were only active for 1 year. But to give a little more context to how, how affecting Gabriele Princip was on the world in a negative connotation, here are the 10 deadliest wars of the 20th century. We've got the Chinese Civil War, the Russian Civil War, World War I, World War II. I'm going to highlight all the wars on this chart that are a direct result of Gabriele Princip. Here are the 10 deadliest famines of the 20th century. Famines are generally associated not with just droughts or anything, but it's usually government policies and intentional, withholding of food that cause famines. Here are the 10 deadliest ones. I'm going to highlight all the ones that are a direct result of Gabriele Princip. And here are the 10 deadliest genocides of the 20th century. And I'm going to same deal. He got one. That's not his fault. Because of Gabriele Princip, 158 people died in the 20th century. That is 147 more than Hitler, 142 more than Stalin, and 128 more than Mao Zedong. Does anyone have any idea what he could have possibly done to do this in 1 year? He shot 2 people. When he was 19 years old, he shot the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir of the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife. He fired 2 bullets and killed 2 people. And because of that, World War I started. And I don't know if a lot of you know the exact implications of World War I, but if it didn't happen, if World War I didn't happen, if he didn't kill these 2 people, World War II never happened. Cold War never happened. The Russian Revolution, Soviets coming to power in Russia, never happened. The nuclear war never happened. Because of World War I, the Ottoman Empire, which controlled almost the entire Middle East, was broken up and separated into what is currently going on in the Middle East. That wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Gabriele Princip in World War I, which is why the Twin Towers coming down would have never happened. And the current situation in Israel would never have happened. This is a bit of a downer. I was expecting people to do a little more topics like this, and I apologize. But I feel like me and our professor over there talked a lot about how this could be implicated into your guys' lives. He was the same age, if not younger, than almost everyone in this room. And he changed the world forever. And there's a lot of awful things that happen because of it, but also a lot of great things to the technological revolution and space race.